Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries Live with Tanya E. You see, today we're having a 1 degree decision change. For those of you that have been listening to this morning's episode, you already know what I'm talking about. For those of you that did not listen to this morning's episode, you need to go back and listen because today I had a conversation about how to make adjustments, 1 degree adjustments. The way I came up with the 1 degree statement was a conversation that I was having with somebody, and it was a story that was told about how if an airplane is off 1 degree, that 1 degree equals about 60 miles. If you are shifting a direction about 60 miles, if you're driving, if you're flying, it's a greater distance if you're flying. If you're driving, you got small shifts. Depending on how far your distance is and how fast you intend to get there, it would make a great difference in what that 1 degree shift looks like. For a lot of us, we don't pay attention to the fact that we are making 1 degree decisions every single day. And today, I had several of those that I needed to make. And being here with you right now was one of them. I had to make adjustments because there are times when our environments just gives us those moments where stuff just happens. There's a lot of things that we can do that are in our control, but there's a whole lot more that we find ourselves in that we have no control over. What are you doing in those moments? How are you functioning in those moments? It's in those moments where you make that micro shift, that 1 degree shift in how you're functioning, what you're doing, how things will show up in your world. And because we make those small decisions in those moments, we don't pay attention to how vast those 1 degree decisions can be. You see, I want you to start paying better attention because I had to start paying better attention. Those of you that know that I share a lot of the information about my life and how I've walked through some changes, mostly from a relational element. But here's the thing that I had to learn. 1 degree decisions happen in multiple areas of our lives. I had a lot of adjustments I made today. Small microcosms. Those small microcosms are 1 degree decisions. You don't often pay attention to them because it's not an immediate goal of what that thought will have or the impact that it will make, unless you start living your life intentionally. If you have read my premier book, Red Alert, Is He the One? The Pocket Guide to Finding the Love of Your Life, I have an entire chapter about intention. I had to write that chapter because I had to start living my life intentionally. And because I made the decision back then, it helped me make some decisions today that gave me the chance to show up, still show up. May not have been ideal because there was one point in my world, the way my natural, logical, analytical mind works. I want a process in place. I want a plan that's effective. And if it did not work out the way that I planned, the way I thought, the way that I wanted, the way I desired, it would take me out. Are you like that? Have you experienced things in your life that if it just shifts, your whole day is thrown off? Somebody says one word to you that you don't appreciate, the thing that you don't like, and it just throws your whole day off, pulls out a character inside of you that you do your best to try to make sure it stays on the inside, but then a shift happens, that 1 degree, and it shows up on the outside, attitude all over the place, drama-filled moments galore. Yeah. There are environmental things that we experience that we have no control over, but we always have the opportunity to decide how we will deal with it. That intentional behavior is a 1 degree shift in your environment. And if you are intentional about making 1 degree shifts in your attitude, 1 degree shifts in your finances, 1 degree shifts in your emotions, 1 degree shifts in your mindset, whatever it is in your world that you feel like you need to make an adjustment on, don't try to take on all of it at one time. Make a 1 degree shift. Because here's the thing. If you find yourself in a position, like I kind of did today, where I had to stop, pause, and reset. And this morning's episode, I had a conversation a little bit more about what you have to do when things need to make that 1 degree shift. So go back and listen to that episode because it's there that I sure get my tongue together. We can finish this conversation. It was there that I shared my discussion points about how to deal with relational elements because the bulk of what I talk about on this podcast is relational. How do you deal with the emotional warfare that you're experiencing after something chaotic happens, be it a divorce, a loss? That is primarily what I discuss. But I also want you to know that there are things that we have that occur in our environment. And those environmental changes affect how we deal and show up in our relationship. And we don't always make the correlation because the thing that happened to me today, I spoke into being what I wanted. And it did come to pass. It took a lot longer than I expected, a lot more of what I wanted to give to get it done. But what I spoke came to pass. He said, shared in this morning's episode that there are times in your life you need to just speak what you desire into being. And you have to trust that it's going to manifest, even if you can't see it. See, a lot of us have no problem doing that in one area of our life, but we don't always transfer that into other areas of our lives, which is why I often say, what you do in one area is not what you do in every area. So if you find yourself in a position where one area of your life is doing great, enjoy it, celebrate it. But if there's some other area that you want to make adjustments in, sometimes that 1 degree shift in that one area gives you the catalyst, like traveling in an airplane where you have a 60-mile difference. I gave an example in this morning's episode about leaving from DC. I'm a native of Washington, D.C., still not too far from home. If I go from DC's Reagan Airport and I'm trying to get to New York, that's about 200 miles. If an airplane is traveling that distance, it's not a lot of time. It takes about 2 hours to get there. But if there's 1 degree off at the end of that 2 hour flight, they'll find themselves somewhere in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So 1 degree makes a difference, especially depending on how fast that you're moving. And for a lot of us, we're not moving that fast. It's the small changes over time. Because an environmental change that I just came from threw off my entire schedule. It did have an impact on my relationship because my husband was waiting for me. He made adjustments in his schedule so that he can be present for the change in my schedule. That was not his fault. The environmental element that I was in had a shift in my personal environment. So what you do professionally often affects you personally and vice versa. So pay attention to those 1 degree shifts. And because I was thrown off of my regular schedule, I made some adjustments, still did a few things that I typically do to ensure that my personal life stayed whole while I was managing things in my professional life. But I still did not do all of what I typically do when I got home. That 1 degree shift. If I had not always, and I haven't been intentional about consistently pouring into my relationship, that 1 degree shift, if I wasn't clear about it happening and was intentional about making adjustments, that could become an unconscious habit. And it's our unconscious habits that are constantly making 1 degree shifts in our world that we don't pay attention to. It's our unconscious habits that are constantly putting us in a position where those 1 degree decisions are constantly moving us into directions that we may not be mindful of until we find ourselves about 200 miles down the road in our lives and discover, hey, why are you way over there? It was the 1 degree shifts of not being intentional. So what are you doing? When the environment around you makes an adjustment and that 1 degree shift throws you off, are you being intentional with how you will show up next, with how you will function next, so that things will be better, so that you can do better and have better? I have to make another 1 degree shift in this day to put back the elements in my relationship that got poured out. It is what we often find in our world, especially when our relationships start going a little sour, end up a little more chaotic, got extra drama that we did not want to anticipate. because there was a 1 degree shift. That we were not intentional about the direction that I was headed in. You see, what I don't want, because I've lived that life. In my first marriage, I was not intentional about when life happened out there, how it affected in here. So I didn't nurture that relationship like I should have. So that 1 degree shift found me 11 years later at the end of a marriage that I thought would last forever. But here's the thing. Being intentional about my habits, being intentional about my thoughts, being intentional about how I will show up moving forward in my future, that 1 degree shift became an intentional habit that moved me forward. That 1 degree shift became an intentional moment that I think about when I find that there's a shifting in the atmosphere that I have no control over, so that it does not have an adverse impact in my home. Because what I don't want to have happen is a 1 degree shift out there, making a major catastrophic 1 degree shift in here. So I had to be intentional with a 1 degree shift mentally. What will I make certain I'm intentional with my mindset so that my future will not have an adverse impact with a 1 degree decision in here? What will I do with my heart so I can continue to guard it and protect those that I hold dear? It started with a 1 degree shift around every element of my world, being intentional about how I will allow me to be impacted. I may not be able to change everything out there, but I have full control over how I can do things in here. And if I don't have that control, because the logical part of me still wants to plan, still wants to process, still want things in place, I recognize that there has to be a bending so that I do not break. And that 1 degree shift may be the bending so that you do not break, so that your world can be better, so that you can do better and have better. And so for today, if you don't remember anything else I've shared, here's the one thing I want you to know. A 1 degree shift intentionally takes you into the direction that you want to go, be it professionally or personally, and how you respond, even if there's some chaotic changes out there that want to constantly make those microcosm thoughts that you have to adjust to intentional, so that those 1 degree moments make the 1 degree shift that you want in a direction that supports you. If anything that I've shared this evening has resonated with you, like, comment, and share. Leave your comments below because we can still extend this conversation. I would love to see what 1 degree shifts you are making. How are you making those adjustments? Because if we as a collective add one comment, one moment, one thought, one strategy, one lesson, so that everybody else that comes down below to takes a look and reads it, they will have a 1 degree shift that will support them on the journey. And if you want someone to join you on the journey, feel free to go to my website, tanyaehood.com. There you can click under the Work With Me tab and see the various ways that we can work with one another. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood, walking in my purpose, and I want you to do the same.